Now we're going to create a view to actually handle a GET request to update our cart. And we're not going to display the cart yet, but we're just going to update the cart. So we'll look in the admin to see what these carts look like. So let's go ahead and do that. And the first thing I want to do is I'm going to import this view class. So we're going to go into our views.py for our cart, and we're going to just import the base view. So from Django generic, import view. So let's create this view, and we'll say class cart view, takes in the base view, and we're going to define get, and it's going to take in self, request, args, and keyword args. And then what we want to do here is we're going to just redirect them to another page. So I'm just going to go from django.http, import HTTP response redirect. So we'll just, for now, this is what we'll do, is we'll just return them to the home page. Because the main part here is really working with what's coming through. So now I'm going to say the keyword arguments. We actually want to get the keyword arguments. I'll do QTY for quantity, and then I'll do item for the item. So item is going to be equal to request.get and item. And then QTY will be request.get QTY. So let's go ahead and print out item and QTY once we do this. So let's put this view into our URLs for e-commerce. So I'm going to add in to the main e-commerce URLs. So from carts.views, import cart view. And we're going to just add it in here and say URL r cart $ cart view as view, and then we'll put the name as cart. Close it off. There we go. So we've got this URL here now. So let's go back into our e-commerce site, make sure the server's running, of course, and we go into the cart. It's going to redirect us right back. So let's actually do some stuff with the cart, and we'll do cart, and we'll do question mark and say item equals to 1 and QTY equals to 10. And of course it redirects, but if we look into our terminal, we see 1 and 10 coming up. It's a good sign. So if you think back to what we did with the cart itself, we used item and quantity because of the cart item. So item being the variation ID. So let's go ahead and import variation. So from products.models, import variation, and then from cart.models, import cart and cart item. So now our item is going to be related to this variation. So I also want to import another shortcut, which is get object or 404. So in the case where item does not exist, so if item, I want to make sure that the item itself is a real actual instance of the variation. So I'll say item instance equals to get object or 404, and we're going to want to use the variation model, and then ID equals to item. So this is going to be item ID actually, so let's just explicitly call it item ID in here. All right, and the same is true for quantity. We want to make sure that it's a number, but I'm going to not worry so much about that at this point. I'll just say if there's a quantity item, we'll just assume that it is a number. And now, just like what we did before, we will set our cart item number. So I'll say item, we'll say cart underscore item equals to cart item. And then we need to do .objects, .get or create. And we're going to have to find the cart, so we'll still have to do that. But for us, I'll just set the cart equal to, for now, just cart.objects.all and the first one. So that's going to be our cart. And then our item is equal to item instance. So the item instance has to be there. So let's go ahead and just tab all of this stuff in. to if item ID. And then now, since we have this cart item of get or create, we want to get the instance of it. So I do 0. And then cart item dot quantity is equal to QTY. And then finally cart item dot save. And then after that, we can print out the cart item to show that it's done. So let's go ahead and do this. So we'll save it. And we're going to go back into carts. And we'll do item 1, quantity of 10. Let's actually do a quantity of 200. Press enter. So we have no, oh, we got an import error here. So back in here, this should be carts, not cart. Refresh. And looks like something happened, but let's go into the admin and take a look. Carts. And we have cart 2 and cart 1. And we used the very first one, which that's the first item in the instance. If we did, or excuse me, the query set, if we did dot first, that'd also be this first one here. And the quantity did not change, so let's go back into our view and see why. Quantity itself is written incorrectly. So going back into our cart, let's go to cart, item quantity again, go back in the admin, carts, 1, quantity is 200. Perfect. So that's a great start. That allows us to actually change and update the cart item based off of this stuff. So that also means that if we wanted to have something like delete, so we'll say delete item equals to request.get, and we'll say delete. Let's go ahead and print out delete item. So cart and delete equals to true. Then it'll print out true. So that means that instead of saving the item, we'll say if delete item, we would just go cart item dot delete. Otherwise, we will update it. So let's go back. And cart item delete is true. Then we go into the admin, go into the cart, and now there's no longer an item there. So again, cart item equals to 1. We could say it's equal to 2. Quantity is equal to 2. Press enter. Redirects us. We go back into the admin, carts, and item 1, also quantity of 2. Perfect. So this is a very basic way of adding or updating how our cart actually works. And the quantity here, actually, that's spelling, or that was a testing error right there, but the quantity there is going to be based off of the get quantity, of course. So if we went back into it, it says 200 right now, change it back to 2, refresh in there, it adds the 16 gig, it does all of that stuff, right? So this is also how you would delete it. It's how you update it, delete it, and add to it, which is exactly what this is doing right here. And the cart itself is a little bit different. Well, the cart should be based off of something else. Now, what we're going to be doing is adding a session variable that we can use across all of our views for this particular cart. It's not completely necessary, but it is something that we'll end up doing. So if you have any questions on what we did here as far as adding to the cart, updating it, and all that, let us know. Otherwise, let's keep going.